Watch the mitt.
I want to be healthy and happy.
Right at the mitt.
I pledge to lead a drug-free life.
Good.
I'm still basically just admitting the fact that I have a problem, you know? And I can't really imagine life without drugs because it's been a part of my life for so long.
I will say no to tobacco.
Right here, big guy.
I will say no to alcohol.
Yes.
To a person like me, it's impossible to understand like why somebody would get a drink half of it, and then leave it there. And totally forget that they had it. And all this time, I'm staring at it like, finish your drink.
I will say no to illegal drugs. I will help my friends say no.
Good.
I can't quite
Real good.
remember the time where I said, "Dad, please quit heroin." You know, straight up in his face. But I told Mom if Dad was gonna quit, and she said, "I don't know."
I pledge to stand up for what I know is right.
Funding for this series is provided by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, making grants to improve the health and health care of all Americans. And by Mutual of America, building America's future through pension and retirement plans, encouraging dialogue and discussion. The spirit of America, Mutual of America.
I'm Bill Moyers. Few things are more popular with the American public than trying to prevent young people from using drugs. We've spent many millions of dollars hoping to get the message across to each new generation. The impact of all this is hard to measure. Teenage substance use goes through cycles, rising and falling, then rising again. But regardless of whether the use of drugs is up or down, the rate of addiction has stayed the same. Why is that? Well, it may be because you can't fight a complex disease with a simple message, because preventing use is not the same as preventing addiction. In this hour, we're looking at efforts to prevent kids from becoming addicts. Now, no one can tell exactly who will grow up to be addicted, but we've come to realize that some young people are more at risk than others. Many factors come into play, not only parental behavior, but psychological problems. Not only the genes they inherit and the environment they live in, but the empty place in the heart. We're going to visit 2 American cities to meet several young people at risk for addiction, and some of those trying to help them before it's too late.
Yeah. That's okay. Just slow down a little. Good one. That's it.
I like sports because I think I was born as an athlete.
Good.
I like running around, playing games.
Where's your foot?
I'm gonna be a pitcher,
Okay.
and I think that I want to play for the Mariners.
T.J. Jansen lives near Seattle with his sister Summer and his parents, Ted, a carpenter, and Sue, a homemaker. Both his mom and dad are battling heroin addiction.
When I was high, we had a very good time. The kids and Ted, we had a very good time. We were very happy. And we were much more patient with the children and more apt to do things with the children than when we weren't, or we were trying to get the drugs. Forget it. We haven't got time for you kids right now. We have to get our drugs.
When their supply would run out, the Jansons roamed Seattle streets looking for more.
I justified it by saying, okay, we get the drugs. I know you don't like this, you guys, but we have to do this. So you would cook it up in the car. So you had to find a place you could do it where the police would not drive by and see you doing this. Unfortunately, the kids would be with us at times in the back seat of the car. TJ, you know, our 9-10-year-old son watching us. Ted and I would fight because he would always get to go first. How come you get to go first? You know, why not me? Well, because you take too long. We can never find a good vein for you.
When my mom couldn't get the needle in the vein, then she would just get it in the rear end.
And as soon as it's over with, it was put away, and we would go do family things and be like a normal family. But I knew we weren't. And I knew my kids knew.
They're nice people. They raised us good. Even though they do heroin, you know, it's pretty hard of experience because you don't know what to do. You don't stop loving them.
Ted's 20-year addiction has made it hard for him to hold a steady job. Right now, he's trying to quit heroin by going cold turkey. While he tries to get back on his feet, the family is living in a relative's basement. They seldom have more than a temporary home.
It's always been a cycle with me. I'll get well for months, 6, 7, 8 months tops, and build back up everything that I've lost, and then just to fall into the same trap and lose it all again.
Lay down, lay down, lay down.
With the kids, they always see the blood, the guts, the gore, the needles, the crying, the fighting, the lying, the stealing, the cheating part of it, and they're just too young to see that.
See? Just get down on your knees down here, son. There's a whole bunch.
TJ's sister was born with developmental disabilities. Sue and Ted aren't certain how much she understands of their addiction. Not so with TJ.
Quick, Raven!
He's a 10-year-old boy that's probably gone through 30 years of experiences.
There.
One day, I just came home from school. I dropped my stuff like I usually do. I take off my shoes, I put my stuff in my bedroom, and then I go into the kitchen and grab a snack and then watch some TV. But instead of that, I went into the kitchen and I saw my dad lying on the floor, breathing only once a minute, and I go, Dad, are you okay?
I come out, and he's got 911 on the phone. Ted's on the kitchen floor, face down, blood everywhere, needles still in his arm.
If he was still on that floor for about 5 more minutes, I think he would have been dead. All the people said, what happened to your dad? And I didn't tell the truth. I just said he broke his nose. Just broke his nose.
I can only pray that TJ will be able to look at his father and I and see the hell we've gone through. But I don't know. I don't know. I can't speak for him. We never lied to him. We were always very honest. He knows what drugs can do. He's seen it firsthand. So I just pray that he doesn't go that route.
After Ted's overdose, Sue vowed to stop using heroin.
I realized that I wasn't going to be able to stop without help of some kind.
She signed up at a methadone clinic. The methadone helped Sue stop using heroin for the first time in almost 3 years.
Okay.
That was probably going to be the only way I was going to be able to even have a chance of stopping this craziness.
The clinic offered more than a drug to help control her dependence.
So active parenting, the parent moves and goes to the child and talks to the child.
It also provided therapy, therapy for the addicted parents and therapy for their children. The hope is to prevent the addiction from being passed from one generation to the next.
If your parents are using, then you don't have a strong family. And you don't have good communication skills, and you don't have family meetings, and you don't have family recreation. You don't have family time, and you're probably not getting consistent discipline or consistent structure.
Kathy Kasimba runs the program.
The kids learn that they're not accountable for their behavior. So what does that leave them? That leaves them with matching with people that are using. And so that's where their peer group is. And so they end up using because they don't know how not to. Just don't know how not to. Even though they say, oh no, I'll never do that.
What are your goals for your family? Iris, what are some of your goals? Give us some examples.
Kasimba knows kids like T.J. Jansen are at high risk for addiction because of the environment they live in and their genetic link.
No drug use.
Nothing can be done to change heredity, so the program tackles the thing that can be changed, how the family works.
Family happiness.
Happy home. Happy.
Focus on Families is about where you bring your families and you talk about problems, and I like it.
The clinic itself has raised the money so that for 4 months, 3 times a week, parents and children come to learn basic skills that have often been sacrificed to addiction.
We do it to our kids all the time. They want our attention, they're talking to us, and we continue to wash the dishes and go, and So what message are we giving them? That same message, right? That they're not important, or we're really not interested in listening to what they have to say.
Let's have a little conflict that happened in the week, and now you're in the middle of family time, and somebody's real hot, somebody's real angry about something that happened. Ted.
TJ, I told you time and again that you're supposed to take your dog outside to do its business and to feed it and take responsibility for it. It's your dog.
Let's stop here. What happened? Did you see TJ?
You shied away?
He shied away. His feelings started to get hurt. He started to get mad. And now, is that going to change the behavior of what TJ does? If the goal is for me to tell you how angry I am at you, well, okay, that's fine, but that's not going to change anything on how the family works.
The program's research has shown that the parents in these classes have never learned ways of handling family stress,
Does it always have to start with
and that if they can learn to manage it, they may be less likely to relapse.
Okay, so let's try that with an I message. Let me give you an example. TJ, I really feel frustrated when you don't take out your dog. Okay, Ted, try it.
TJ, I really get angry when you're not accepting responsibility for your dog.
Okay, Ted, one more time. TJ, I really feel angry.
Well, I do.
Say it then.
Oh.
Why are you saying get angry if it's a feeling?
TJ, I really feel angry when you're not taking responsibility for your dog.
Now stop for a minute. Do you all see the difference in that? That time, you were really communicating to TJ about how you feel. Did that feel different to you?
Yes, it did.
But
And
you're not
I
sure
also-
if it's good or bad.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I was still feeling the anger because, when it came
good.
right
It's all
back.
right to feel the anger, but the way you communicate it is the trick. Because what's your goal? To get TJ's behavior to change.
I think it's for the kids, but the trick is that you can't do anything for the kids unless you can fix these parents. So while we really want to save this next generation from being addicts, we have to save the first one first.
You know what? What I wanted to do was change behaviors or encourage.
I was doing a lot of things that I never was even aware that I was doing that, turn people off. Instead of building the relationship, building the conversation, or working through problems, I was always a little dictator.
You don't just practice this for 4 years. You guys got to do this for 18, 20 years, okay? This parenting thing doesn't just end. So you got to practice it. Go for it.
Okay, TJ. I think that if you can do all these things this week, that would be fine. And then at the next family meeting next week, we'll bring it up and go over it again. Is that okay with you?
Yes. Great.
I'd like that. Thank you.
Great. Yay! All right.
Focus on family, I think, is really good. I think it should be every day because you can't wait like once a week. You got too much stuff already that you want to get off your chest. Stuff that's bothering you.
It seemed the Jensens were doing well. Methadone and counseling were working for Sue.
Being at Focus on Family has gotten me in a surrounding of clean. Doctors, nurses, people are watching me. I'm not doing other drugs. I'm doing only the drugs they're giving me. I'm back with my family where I want to be. I can hold my head up in front of my son and say, look, Mom has no needles anymore. TJ was with me when I threw my needles away.
There you go, Slimmy. TJ?
But going cold turkey wasn't working for Ted. Despite the family's progress, 6 weeks after joining the group, he relapsed, returning to heroin. It was uncertain whether the Jensens would remain in the program. There are a lot of kids like TJ. 1 in 5 American children lives in a home with at least one addicted parent. But you don't need to be the child of an addict to be at risk for addiction. Donald Wright is a junior at Palmetto Senior High in Miami, Florida.
Well, it's Friday, so it's been a long week in school, So you definitely want to hang back and do something just to get rid of all this stress, So, I don't know, probably chances are, usually I either get drunk off my butt, and then I end up sleeping all Saturday day, and just go back and party Saturday night. My dad's always been working late hours, and I've been living with him for the past, 3 years. So basically, I've learned how to, live on my own. I cook for myself, I clean for myself, I do my own laundry. So he thinks I'm pretty independent, and I think so, too. I can basically take care of myself.
Donald's parents are divorced. He shares a 2-bedroom apartment in South Miami with his father, who works nights managing a restaurant. Donald is alone from the time he comes home from school till late into the night. He says he smokes marijuana to fall asleep.
It's very hard for me to sleep because I live alone pretty much, and 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody's home by myself, I worry about that. Once I go to sleep, you can't wake me up. You cannot wake me up. I've been late to school, I think, almost every day, just about every day. Maybe I'm on time once every 2 weeks for the past 2 years. For the past 2 years, I failed both my first period classes because I haven't been there.
Hey, John.
But there is one school session Donald never misses.
You might need to bring more chairs. John, could you maybe...
Twice a week, he joins a group of students who are or have been very heavy substance users. Some, like Donald, come voluntarily or at the suggestion of a teacher.
What is this? It's scavenger.
Others come as an alternative to being suspended or expelled.
It's just a bunch of confused teenage kids, and we talk and you realize, wow, there's somebody else like me, you know?
You know, you start off just wanting attention or trying to help yourself out, and you become addicted, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I think a kid's gonna use drugs to like get away from some type of problem, you know? It could have something to do with his family, you know? I mean, maybe he has some stressful situation at home. I mean, I can pretty much relate to that. I mean, I'll start using some type of drug, you know, it'll make me feel better, something's bothering me, you know, I'll go smoke weed, I'll go drink a quart, and you know, at that point in time, you know, I feel a lot better, you know, it's true, it's an escape.
They're part of an effort called Trust. Each high school and junior high in Dade County has a trust counselor specially trained to identify and work with the most vulnerable kids, especially kids at risk for addiction.
I mean, I know in some cases some of you feel that your parents don't really understand you, but how does drug use create a sense of...
The counselor at Palmetto is Robin Tassler.
When I work with the kids that are using drugs, we do spend time on drugs, but we also spend time looking at our lives and what's going on in our lives.
Helplessness. You know, it's like when I see someone I care about.
Initially, when we start the group, we talk about why people use drugs. You get a lot of superficial reasons. Oh, it's fun, it makes me feel good. But that's just the surface. You know, how did they get to that point?
It's just going to take time.
And sometimes I have kids say, I like to be high. I like to, you know, because I like the way I feel. And I'll say to them, well, why do you like it? Well, I feel good. Well, why do you feel good? And we keep going around. And each time the answer starts to change.
Being always put down, my parents are not supportive at all. And it just hurts me a lot.
My mom, my dad, they were under the assumption that it was something that they did, you know. We didn't take you to the park that one day when you were 2, or that birthday party, you know, we didn't have the theme right, you know. And they went through every event of my childhood thinking that they must have done something, screwed it up somehow.
For me, it was a sense of betrayal. You know, like, how could you do this to me? You're supposed
These kids bring a lot of experience to this circle. Anxiety, trauma, grief, depression.
I've never had that support there from family or anything like that. I've always had myself to, like, take care of responsibility of, you know?
No one can say these things cause addiction, but not addressing them increases a young person's risk.
When you hear other people get angry at their parents for why don't they...
If you've got a child who is depressed because their mother died, and no one ever addresses that depression early on, as they grow older, there may be some issues that could ultimately lead to either drinking or using to deal with it, which could lead to more serious problems.
I keep putting myself in situations where I don't really particularly want to be in.
And if someone intervenes early on to help give them whatever they need to deal with that problem, then they may not resort to using at another time.
Any opportunity to grow.
In Robin Tassler's profession, they call it intervention, trying to reach young people while there's still time.
You have to give yourself a lot of support. Because I know it's not like you have a family that you can go back to get the support. I mean, I know they love you, but like you said, it's hard. So this way, but you're trying to align yourselves with situations that give you the support you need.
I've always had to give myself support.
I know you have, and in some ways you've developed into a very strong person because of it.
But I'm sick of it.
Well, then you look for people that care about you and nurture you. It takes time, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean, you know, the thing is, even like with school, you know, I think school is important. I do. However, I think sometimes when you're trying to focus on one time in your life that you're working on, those things will begin to fall into place too. And I keep telling you.
My dad needs to understand that. Like I tried to explain to him, he was totally pissed off. The only reason why I'm living with him is for school.
I know.
And I don't know, it's just like ridiculous. He does not understand one single thing.
Well, what does he say to you?
He says school's the most important thing. That's the only thing I care about. If you don't start doing good in school, I'm going to throw you back in with your mom.
Okay, so
I'm going to pull you out of Palmetto, go to South Dade.
What can you say to him? See, you have to understand, what sounds like disappointment, although it may come across as that, if you change it a little bit, what he's saying is, He knows you're bright and he knows you're capable, and he wants you to have a good future.
I'm using all this intelligence for not doing drugs.
Fine, and that's what you tell him for right now. You know, I was with you the other day when you signed up for summer school. I know you're, you know, it's, you know, you could have said the hell with it and not
I
done
almost
it.
did.
But you didn't.
If something comes up this summer, like if I want to go somewhere
Excuse me,
or get
but
a
you
good
didn't.
job,
But you
I
didn't.
know.
Okay? But you didn't.
We have a responsibility to identify kids who are troubled. So for the first time in zillions of years, there's a program that surrounds the kid and says, this is what we're going to do. Doris, have we heard
Dr.
from
Rick
Georgina?
Wolfson runs the adolescent treatment program at South Miami Hospital.
Okay, everything okay
When a
here?
trust counselor identifies someone she thinks is in need of treatment, she often refers the student here.
Okay. If you listen, the kid will tell you what's going on. I had a kid in my office this past week was shaking all over. I said to him, if your body could talk to me, what would it be telling me? What is your legs jumping up and down? What would your legs tell me? He looked at me and says, I'm scared. Really? What are you scared of? He didn't know. He's scared. He needs help, the poor kid. I felt like hugging him. You know, I set him up for some psychological testing and we'll look a little further. But it wasn't just addiction. The kid is scared. He's not scared when he smokes pot. If the kid can survive long enough and recognize that they're going to have to change their computer, the way they think, then they got a shot. Our job is to get to them at that point in time.
Is there anything that might have kept you from using? Anything anybody could have said or done?
Mostly if they say they care about me. I mean, 'cause a lot of times I feel like nobody cares about me and I don't care about myself. And
nobody ever said that to you? Your father didn't say it?
There's no time. He's coming, I'm going. That's the way it's always been. I don't know. Like usually I don't, or at least before I didn't care about myself. And I had to hear about people, I had to have people tell me not to care about me.
Like Robin?
Yeah. But she didn't have to tell me, like I can tell.
Intervention is crucial in the lives of the most vulnerable kids because they're often the ones who didn't respond to traditional drug prevention programs.
The problem with prevention is that it's different for everybody. You can't take a universal message and throw it into 75 billion minds that are different in every single way.
They feed you this just say no stuff when you're really, really young, and you know, you're impressionable because you're a little kid, so you're all for it, and you're like, yeah, no drugs are bad, no, I say no to drugs, da, 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 and you wear the sticker and you buy the t-shirt, and
But it's not a reality.
but then, like, the thing is that they don't count on is that right around, like, 13, 14, you start to learn, like, rebellion.
And it's just like the preventative measures that they take, they hit you with in your like 3rd grade, you know, and you're like, or you're like really young. You have just as much success explaining like prostate cancer to those kids. It's not a reality at that age.
What does addicted mean?
They can't help like having more and more.
Can't help having more and more? What do you think it means?
They're hooked on it.
You have lost control of the ability to stop.
The Trust program began nearly a decade ago in the junior high schools. There was a classroom curriculum for all students, taught by regular teachers, and a counseling program for kids believed at risk for serious problems. It showed so much promise it was expanded into the high schools.
Look cool. What are the risks of smoking marijuana or cocaine?
But Dade County administrators realized that adolescence was too late to reach some kids.
Today we're going to be talking about alcohol and alcoholism and alcoholics that are in our family. And we're going to learn
Now,
how to deal
even the elementary school children have their own Trust curriculum.
If you have an alcoholic in your family and you go and you throw away all of the alcohol that's in the house, what do you think might happen? Ashley?
They'll get very mad and angry at you.
Excellent. If 1 out of every 4 children come from a family that has an alcoholic in it, that means that you're not alone. If you look around, that means that 5 of you have an alcoholic in your family. What do you have to remember?
You are not alone.
It's very important for the teachers to understand that drug prevention is not about teaching about drugs. Teaching about drugs is just a very small portion of the curriculum.
So it's very important for us to talk about graffiti.
Parents and teachers need to understand that what you start with in drug prevention is with the child and the feelings and the emotions, and written communication, verbal communication, how to interact, how to follow rules, how to solve problems, how to make good decisions, and all of those things.
Success.
The T?
Together. I wish I were cool like those people. Maybe then I'll be popular.
While traditional drug education is included, Trust curriculum for younger kids is much more than just say no.
You guys. Okay, let us teach
They're
you.
taught to recognize and understand the social and personal pressures that may tempt them to use drugs.
You take some of this, you'll be cool like us. Being cool is being your own self.
I love what you just said. Say that again so everybody can hear you.
Being cool is being your own self.
Is being your own self.
Making the right choice means that you will choose to say
There's
no.
a trust curriculum taught by regular teachers in each of the district's 200 elementary schools. But there's only enough money in the budget to put a trust counselor in 5 of the most needy schools.
There's a little bit of fear, a little bit of anxiety. Some of you wrote letters.
And it's the counselor who is most necessary to help kids at high risk for addiction.
I guess I hear almost everything. In a typical group, usually there's an uncle in jail. There's some type of sexual molestation that has occurred. These kids have seen their parents murdered. It's hard to talk about at first, and we talk about that. I let the kids know that if you have a problem or you have something to talk about, that if you ever want it to go away, you're going to have to tell someone, and you're going to have to talk about it, and you're going to have to deal with it, and the time is when you're young.
The district would like to have trust counselors in every elementary school, but the federal government, which provides about half the annual $5 million budget, has been shrinking its contribution, leaving the fate of the program in local hands. In the upper grades, the counselors have their work cut out for them.
Well, listen, please, you look wonderful. How's your mom, your dad?
Over the course of a year, Robin Tassler will see up to 300 students, listening and counseling, connecting them with school and community support, and if necessary, helping them get into treatment.
I have a group of rape survivors. These are all young women. Some of them are at risk for drug use because they've gone through some difficult periods. I have a bereavement group. I have an anger management group. Gosh, the list goes on and on and on.
You want to wait till a less stressful time to quit, is that what you're saying? Okay. Have you thought ahead, though, about if you encounter stress again, once you make the decision to quit, how you're going to handle it, that you won't go back to smoking again?
More self-control, but right now I don't have.
Well, we keep stressing that it's not a matter of self-control, because if you keep telling yourself willpower, you put yourself at a real disadvantage. It's a question of changing your behavior, of doing something different.
Whether it's illegal drugs, alcohol, or nicotine, Tassler's goal is to get the students to examine why they do what they do.
I get angry at the tobacco industry because I feel they insult your intelligence. We were saying that it's just like they're just assuming that you're a mindless bunch of boobs. Do you feel you're mindless?
Yeah, if we're, it's true. I mean, if we're at age like 12 or whatever, if we're going to be controlled by a white stick filled with tobacco the rest of our lives, and it's going to take us, we're going to give them so much money, to destroy our bodies, I guess we are kind of mindless.
It's interesting. I wanted you guys kind of to show.
When it comes to cigarettes, Tassler's job may be the most difficult of all. Of those who start smoking, up to half will become addicted.
It doesn't make me stop smoking to see a charcoal lung, because I think that's not going to happen to me, but why do I do it? That's what this class makes me think about.
Describe that craving to me.
You haven't had breakfast, you haven't had lunch, you've been running late all day, it's time for dinner. You sit down at a restaurant and they're taking
they're taking their time, and the waitress is slow. That's what addiction is. When you're so hungry, you want your food so bad, and you're staring at the you know when you stare at the direction that your food's coming from, that's what wanting a cigarette's like.
Did you read the little label?
The labels are a joke.
It says smoking by pregnant women could cause harm while
Yeah, I'm not a
pregnant.
woman. What do I care? I'm not gonna get pregnant, so it's not.
I'm still a smoker, but I've definitely cut down because of the group. I just look at it a little differently. I know all the bad effects about smoking, but this has made it clear. And now I think when I have a cigarette, why am I really having this cigarette?
For kids in the drug group, quitting cigarettes isn't the highest priority. They're concentrating on sobriety. To that end, Donald has started hanging out with some of the kids in his trust group outside of school.
Kids that have stopped using, they start developing some clarity, and when they develop clarity, they provide real good wisdom to the ones that are still using, even though those kids a lot of times are highly defensive about their use still.
I usually have to smoke pot every night before I go to sleep, just to go to sleep. And the way I think about it most of the time is that I'd rather be smoking pot than taking Unison, you know?
It turns into a lifestyle, man.
It
turns
does.
into a lifestyle, like almost like so quickly, you know, and you don't even realize that you end up like scheduling your life around drugs, and you like actually make a schedule. Like you just assume that, okay, from what I've done, like I did coke today and I'm not gonna be able to sleep, so I gotta take some pills or I gotta smoke, you know? And it's like in order to wake up, you gotta bump a line or you gotta smoke. And in order to go to sleep, you gotta smoke, you gotta take pills, you gotta do everything.
And with drugs, it's like that. You have your own purpose when you start out, whether it is to, you know, cope with something in your family or
have fun.
medicate yourself or have fun. You know, at one point you go to leave it and it just doesn't work.
I live by myself. I still do drugs. I worked for like 7 months. 7 months working at one place, waiting tables.
But without drugs, you would have done like that much better. You'll never know.
Not really. Okay, first of all, I would have really wacky conversations with the customers, and I would get bigger tips. And second, I would have money in my pocket, so after work, I'd be able to go buy as much weed as I want.
You can justify it however you want. It just
But I'm just saying,
But see,
like,
that's that cycle, you know? Like,
Yeah, that's-
I smoke so I can work better, so I can get more money, so I can buy more weed, so I can smoke, so I can work better, so I can get more money, so I can buy more
some people
weed.
can handle the responsibility and the drugs, and I'm one of those people, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure half of what you're saying is true, but the other half is just a real naive, false interpretation that your body and your mind is giving you to justify you to the things that you're doing.
These kids can say to them, you know, I understand what you're saying, but this is what I see happening. They can say, yeah, I see what you're saying because I loved it too. I do. I understand because I used to do that. But at the same time, this is how things are for me now.
I mean, at night or on long breaks from vacation, I'll literally pace my house. Wanting a drink or something, I'll just pace and rub my hands, but then I can call someone up that I met through this program or something and hang out.
I asked you if your life was that much better since you quit drugs and you have a year under your belt, and you said no.
It's not. I still cry.
Life is still life,
you know, I still cry. I still hurt. I still get angry. Huh?
What's so much better about not doing drugs?
Life doesn't just spontaneously, like, from out of nowhere get better because you stop, like, you know, doing drugs. It's just, life is still tough, man. People have the hardest time, you know, in their lives, and they have so many problems and whatnot, and it's not because they do drugs, and it's not because they don't. It's just because that's how life is, you know. But it's good for me, you know. I like the idea of actually being able to deal with a situation at hand on my own without, you know, without having to run to a specific chemical.
Joe Karam is a senior at Palmetto and a senior member of the trust group. He stopped using almost a year ago.
When I went to the hospital, I mean, they just kind of told me, Joe, you're an addict, look at you. I said, why? How? Because what? Because I hang out with my friends and do, you know, drugs? Well, no, because you hang out with your friends and do drugs, you know, all day, like every day. You know?
Joe began drinking when he was 11. Soon came pot, acid, and finally cocaine.
Ever since I was a kid, I had an image of a drug addict being, you know, like a skinny, sweaty guy, like half naked in like a dark corner, quivering, you know? That was just my image of what somebody who did any kind of drug, it didn't matter. It's just always how you would end up in my view, and it didn't turn out that way, you know?
You know, now that you got over the hump, you know, it's nice in a way, because I think now you can truly make the decisions you
Why
want to
can't
make.
I do what everybody else is doing, you know? What makes me different? I don't know what boundary I crossed. I don't know where I went wrong. There's so many theories, you know, that it's hereditary, that it's something that you're born with, that it's something that you get from your friends. I really don't know. All I remember from my childhood, from when I was really young, that far back, is that I was a really, really violent kid. Really violent. You know, I was the most angry little kid. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe that might have given it away. As far as what could have been done, I really don't know. You know, I don't know anything about what could have intervened. When I was a kid, we'd move constantly. I was back and forth from New York to Connecticut to Chile to Florida, back to Chile, now back to Florida. I just bounced all over the place. I couldn't help but involve myself with whatever was between my parents. They just like fight and decide that they were going to get a divorce, and then they would tell me and nothing would happen, and then, you know. Yeah, I never thought for a second what my mother was feeling. It didn't make any difference to me. I thought what she was feeling was completely ridiculous.
As Joe progressed toward a full-scale cocaine habit, he tried to hide it from his family.
Very honestly, I did not notice. I thought his mood changes were part of the age, you know, and the whatever generation in here. He had a lot of friends going around with him, but my wife, yes, oh, my wife said, this kid, something going on with him, you know, look at him, look at his eyes, look at his mood. He sleeps all day and things like that. I said, okay, look, kids at 16, 17, they all do the same.
You know, I used my substances, and people ended up getting really worried about me, you know. The whole reason that I went to rehab was because people were worried about me, you know, like my girlfriend.
I thought it was pretty cute. I live in the type of family where, you know, both my mom and dad are there. They've always been there, you know. My mom was the milk and cookie mom, you know. So I just try to take care of him when his dad's not there and, you know, bake him cookies and, you know, kind of look out for him. I just kind of want to give him a little bit of, like, support and guidance.
Amy got really, really concerned, and I remember she wrote me this letter telling me that, you know, that I'm killing myself and that, oh, it's so horrible to see you, you know, doing this to yourself. And that's how I took it. I was just like...
So I wrote him a letter, you know, and it didn't do much good. And I guess at that same time, his mother was starting to kind of notice some changes in him. So one day she came into where I was working, which was really, you know, because she lived pretty far, and I was like, you know, what's going on?
Amy decided to confide in Joe's mother, and together with his father, they convinced Joe to enter the treatment center at South Miami Hospital, where he finally got clean. But staying clean was another matter.
I didn't want to be sober anymore, you know? The first couple of months, I was just, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. This is really, really horrible. I miss my friends, you know, I wasn't happy, and, you know. Ms. Tassler, I know, has been instrumental in my sobriety, especially in the beginning phases. I would spend so much time down at her office because I didn't want to be sober anymore, you know? No, it's during my first lunch.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so it's like...
A web of support is extremely important, extremely important. Anything you do that's going to help a kid get through a crisis or an obstacle in their lives that will give them an alternative to turn to using substances as a way to cope is addiction prevention.
Today, Robin works with Joe to help prevent a relapse.
At least 8 out of 10 times that I go to Ms. Tassler, it's in part because I want to use. And I go to Miss Tassler's just about every day. Easily about every day. And I tell her that. I don't see why. But it's just the fact that I'm now with Miss Tassler and I don't feel like it anymore.
You going to take her with you when you graduate in 3 weeks?
No. I don't. I have no idea really how I'm going to deal with cravings. I'll just put my mind into something else. My name is Joe. I guess to start from the beginning, I started drinking when I was 11, more or less.
One way Joe keeps himself straight is by talking to other students about his experience.
I met a bunch of burnouts, and I became a burnout for like months. I was just this drooling vegetable slug of a human being. I was like, cause I pounded pot like it was going out of style or something. All I can really do is sort of nudge them into a different direction and explain that there's a different way of life. Nobody ever did that for me. I never had anybody my age come up to me and tell me, you know, I don't do drugs. I used to do drugs. I used to be in the same boat that you are in now, you know, and this is what my life is like now. I never had anybody say that to me. And quite possibly, if I did, maybe things would have been different.
As the school year draws to a close, Donald Wright is starting to rely less on drugs and alcohol.
The thing I got out of the group was, at least when I was still using, I started realizing, you know, there's somebody who's been sober for a month, and I've seen them when they were using. They look a lot better now. They're more talkative, you know? They're all around a better person, you know? Maybe, just maybe I can look like that, you know? Yeah. I'm starting to care about myself, you know? I care about how I look, you know? I care about what I say. I care about the fact that I walk up to a girl, I'm gonna say, hey man, how you doing? And that, believe it or not, is how I sound when I'm high. And I like going up to a girl and actually being able to start, you know, an intelligent conversation, even though there aren't that many intelligent girls out there, but I don't know.
I say we forget about it.
As for Joe Karam, he's planning to graduate and attend community college. He's determined to stay sober despite the temptations to use.
That match the cufflinks. Yes, they're backwards. Look at that.
Turn around.
Funny guy. Prom night? Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Prom is like notorious. It has its reputation for being this big all-night party at a hotel where the objective is to get as smashed as humanly possible. So yeah, the pressure's on, definitely.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay.
I'm not gonna miss prom because everybody's drinking. It's not fair to me. You know?
You look so handsome.
Thank you.
Woo! Look at you. All done. We'll get together and we'll take a picture. All right. I'll take a couple here. Get together.
Smile.
If these Miami seniors mirror the national average, by the time they graduate, 80% of them will have consumed alcohol. Just under half will have tried illegal drugs. Of those who've used either, at least 1 in 10 will become addicted. Programs trying to identify and help those at highest risk are few and far between. In Seattle, it's a big day for Focus on Families.
Good morning. Welcome to your graduation.
Yay.
Really? You did it. All right. Thank you all for all the work and the time you spent in Focus
Over
on
three-quarters of those who began the program have stuck it out.
to keep on coming, to keep trying
The
to learn.
Jansons
It was a
didn't
lot of
make it.
commitment, so thank you.
Come on, Raven.
Come on, Pike, Pike.
Come on, Tom.
After Ted's relapse, he lost his job. Sue began working 6 days a week in a bagel shop to support the family.
They've been having a lot of problems, and I just sometimes blame myself. I don't talk to anybody. I just hold inside and wait.
She feels so guilty all the time about the way that we are.
Well, see,
That she spoils the kids. That I think that you do, and that's a big part of it.
See, I wouldn't agree. I would say it's been harder on TJ, even harder on TJ than Summer, probably. But Ted is right. I do try to make up and give as much time to them as I can.
I don't see TJ hurting. I mean, he participates in all the sports every season. He has a problem. He still comes to us and verbalizes it.
Not
I mean,
always.
Do you see any deviant behavior in him because of it? Anything that makes the child not normal because of our drug use?
Yes.
No, he might not like it, but I wouldn't say that that he has a problem with it.
I do. I disagree. You have your opinion, but I disagree. I see it affecting him. I do. He isn't able to...
I didn't say that it didn't affect him. I'm saying
No, but I just don't think he's able to have a childhood as he should be having a childhood.
Sure, yeah.
Carefree.
He's had to
He's
take
too
on
worried about us.
Yeah, he's had to take on a lot of responsibility. I'll give you that. But
Taking care of me. You know, which a 10-year-old shouldn't have to worry about taking care of his mom and dad.
No, that's true. Well, he's never had to take care of me. He's taking care of you.
He's taking care of you a lot. He saved your damn life.
I know they're trying to teach me not to do drugs. And they are doing drugs, but not my mom. I know my dad's trying to get on methadone, but not as quick as I want him to. I don't think he's doing the very, very best he can. I hope, but I still got faith, but I don't know if it's gonna happen.
After 3 months back on heroin, Ted finally did begin a methadone program. He's back to work and hoping to find a permanent home for his family. As for TJ, he's in the 5th grade. He still dreams of becoming a baseball player.
When I'm a grown-up, I wouldn't do heroin, because once you get started, you can't stop.
Bullseye!
I think I might, use a little alcohol, but I won't be like a real addict, like going out every night, getting drunk and stuff. I might have like a couple and then go home.
Want to know more? Check out your source close to home, www.pbs.org, for in-depth info, resources, and a multimedia comic book for teens. Join us on the web. Next on Close to Home, the politics of addiction.
The wealthy who have a drug problem can go to Betty Ford. The poor who have a drug problem can go to the Maricopa County Jail.
There are rumblings of change.
The public, in many ways, is ahead of the policymakers.
Can we move from a criminal justice policy that punishes addicts to a public health strategy that treats them?
The only thing that's gonna do me good is getting into some counseling, to some drug treatment programs.
The answer may come from the ground up.
If people like me don't stand up and speak out, no one else will either.
The call for change on the next Close to Home. Funding for this series is provided by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, making grants to improve the health and health care of all Americans. And by Mutual of America, building America's future through pension and retirement plans, encouraging dialogue and discussion. The spirit of America, Mutual of America. This series, Close to Home, is available on home video cassette for $119 plus shipping and handling. To order, call 1-800-336-1917 or write to the address on your screen.
This is PBS.
If addiction has come close to your home and you would like more information, call 1-800-729-6686. You can get information about substance abuse issues or find treatment options in your community.